We play and call it work.
Hey there guys, Quirk here from MiniWarGaming.com to give you another episode of The Breakdown. I'm here today with Logan, right?
Hi.
I got it right. And we're going to be playing 2,000 points today. I'm going to be bringing Thousand Suns, but a different list than what you've typically seen. I'm not bringing Magnus, I'm bringing a ton of Tzaangors. It's interesting, and you're bringing...
Tyranids.
Oh my, and they are actually very, very nicely painted Tyranids. I'm kind of distracted by them right now. They're like in this area right here, so... we're going to be doing a full-on breakdown in this episode, taking a look at our army lists, going through all the units individually, seeing what they do, how they work together, how the army works as a whole, and we're also going to be playing the Nova Open 2017 Premiere, mission number 3, The Relic. So we're going to be getting into how our army is going to work for that mission, and what we plan on doing during the game that we'll be able to see in the vault. So if you're not already a vault member, go ahead and click that link below after watching this episode to get a free 7-day trial to see that episode, as well as all the extra things that we have in the vault, like extra painting tutorials, battle reports, behind the scenes, open vaults, and all kinds of extra stuff right there. It's kind of cool, right?
Yep.
Yeah. See, I got his approval on that one. So, all right, guys. Without further ado, let's go ahead and check out these armies and start the breakdown. Starting off this breakdown, we're going to take a look at my Thousand Suns. This is 1,999 points. So, couldn't find an extra point to throw in, but not a big deal right there. By being Thousand Suns, they have access to all of the abilities coming from the Warriors of Lost Prospero. First one being Death to the False Emperor. Yay! Not going to apply this game, but if at any point in time I was fighting something with the Imperium keyword, anytime I make a hit roll of 6+, I get to, in the fight phase, I get to make an extra attack. These extra attacks don't generate more, so kind of neat right there, but not going to come into play because you don't have the Imperium keyword. Also gives me access to Demonic Ritual. I'm not going to be able to use that because I don't have any points set aside, so I'm not going to be able to summon. But if I did, I'd be able to have one of my heroes forfeit their movement to roll 3 dice, and if that 3 dice result is equal to or greater than the power level of the unit I'm trying to summon, I can bring it on the board. It follows the same rules as Deep Strike and everything like that, which is kind of neat right there. Also, by being, well, Thousand Suns, they get all the abilities that comes from Sons of Magnus. The first one being Brotherhood of Sorcerer. So the range of all psychic powers manifested by units with this ability is increased by 6 inches. So that means my 18-inch smite becomes a 24-inch smite, which is kind of cool. And then on top of that, all the other powers, which I'm taking, get that extra little bit of range, so make it a little bit easier for me to get those spells off. Also, by being Brotherhood of Sorcerers, I don't actually suffer the accumulating negative for casting smite. So it never becomes -1 to cast every time I try and cast it, which is really, really cool right there. And lastly, we have Disciples of Tzaangor, so units with this ability that are range of objective marker. This is going to apply to anything that is a, well, pretty much anything that's a troop or sorcerer, I believe. They count as objective secured, which is quite nice right there. So, yeah, oh, sorry, it applies to Psyker units, which is pretty much everything in my army except for the Tzaangors, which is kind of cool right there. I do have 3 different detachments. I have 2 battalions and 1 Vanguard, so I'm going to have a total of 14 command points once it's all done and battle forged. So let's start off by taking a look at the biggest one. In this detachment, I have 2 HQs, 3 troops, and a couple elites kind of sprinkled throughout. But first things first, let's go ahead and talk about one of my HQs. This is Ahriman. Ooh, he's big and scary and awesome. Now, he's 2 different versions. There's Ahriman and then Ahriman on a disc. I'm just taking him as regular old Ahriman. Movement value of 6 inches, weapon skill, ballistic skill 2+, strength and toughness 4, 5 wounds, 4 attacks, leadership 9, and a 3+ armor save. He is a single model armed with the Black Staff of Ahriman, an Infernal Pistol, frag grenades, and crack grenades. And I'm only allowed to bring one of them in a list. Makes sense though, right? He's a named character, so kind of stuck with that one. The Infernal Bolt Pistol, which we'll probably see a couple of, is a 12-inch range pistol with a strength of 4, AP -2, and a single damage. Frag and crack grenades we've seen before. They are 6-inch range grenades. The frag has grenade D6, strength 3, AP nothing, 1 damage, and the crack grenade is a single grenade at strength 6, -1, and D3 damage. Kind of neat right there. Then finally we have the Black Staff of Ahriman. Strength +2, putting him up to strength 6, -1, and just a straight 3 damage, which is quite nice. Ahriman has a couple different abilities, first one being Death to the False Emperor. We've already explained what that one is. It's not going to come into play this game. But then we have the Arch Sorcerer of Tzaangor, where you can add 1 to any psychic test or deny the witch test for Ahriman, which is quite nice. Has a Sigil of Corruption, providing him a 4-up invulnerable save, and then is also the Lord of the Thousand Suns, where you can reroll hit rolls of 1 made by friendly Thousand Suns units within 3 inches of Ahriman. Really, really cool right there. Armon can attempt to manifest 3 psychic powers in each friendly psychic phase and deny up to 3 psychic powers in each enemy psychic phase. You know, Smite and up to 3 powers from the Discipline of Tzeentch and the Dark Hereticus Discipline. Powers that I'm going to be giving him, I will get into that a little bit later when I do the full army overview and explain how it's going to work with different things right there. But for the most part, you're looking at things like Gift of Change, Glimmer of Tzeentch, and I believe the last one I took was Prescience to give them to give certain things a +1 to hit, which is quite nice right there. That is Armon as a whole. The main reason I'm bringing him is because he's a super awesome Psyker of Awesomeness, also providing a rerolling hits of 1 for friendly Thousand Suns units within 6 inches of him. That's going to apply to the entire army because this entire army does have the Thousand Suns keyword. Super good right there, making his bubble of 6 inches quite important. Also as a character, so I can kind of keep him protected by putting a bunch of characters around. The only thing that's going to get around that is certain psychic powers that can target anybody, as well as sniper weapons, which I don't believe you have any.
No.
But you probably have a couple psychic powers hidden away that might be doing some damage to me, so gotta keep an eye out for that. That's why I'm gonna be relying on his +1, or probably his his +1 to his Deny the Witch test, so that way I don't have to beat your rolls, I just have to tie it naturally, and then that +1 will give me the 1 point over yours, preventing them from happening, which is quite nice right there. That is Arumon. Moving on from him, we're gonna take a look at the Demon Prince of Tzeentch. The Demon Prince of Tzeentch. Now, this one is going to be market-daved just a little bit because he does not have the wings. The wings would actually give him the fly keyword as well as an extra little buff to his movement, going from his regular movement of 8 up to 12. Doesn't have the wings, so just movement value of 8. Weapon skill, Blitz skill 2, strength of 7, toughness 6, 8 wounds, 4 attacks, leadership 10, and a 3+ save. He has 2 Malefic Talons, which are strength users, so 7. AP -2 and 2 damage apiece, and each time he fights he can make an additional attack with his weapon, so he's going to actually have 5 attacks. Except if I have 2 sets, which I do, I get an additional 3 attacks instead, so he's actually going to have 7 attacks in close combat. Super good right there. Then he's also got Death to the False Emperor, again, not going to come into play. A Ethereal Demon, giving him a 4 vulnerable save, and then Prince of Tzeentch, where I can reroll hit rolls of 1 for friendly Thousand Suns and Tzeentch demons that are within 6 inches. Another nice little bubble of rerolling hit rolls of 1. Super cool right there. He can attempt to manifest 2 psychic powers in the psychic phase and deny 1 psychic power in each enemy psychic phase. He knows Smite and 2 powers from the Discipline of Tzeentch, the Dark Hereticus Discipline, and the Discipline of Tzeentch. So I have all 3 tables available to him. And I think the powers I gave him was Glimmer of Tzeentch, where he can give a unit -1 to hit, and there's another one which I'm forgetting off the top of my head, but it's essentially giving me a reroll for my turn. Kind of cool, essentially a free command point reroll, comes in handy. It's quite nice. That is it for my HQs. They're pretty straightforward. We've seen them all before. We know what Demon Princes do. We know what Arumon does. Let's get into the weird thing that I've got in this list here. Some Tzaangors. Why would I bring those? He brought Tzaangors? Why would he bring Tzaangors? It's so weird. Probably anybody who's sitting at home right now is either doing one of 2 things. First off, asking themselves the question, why on earth would Quirk bring Tzaangors? Or people that have used them have gone, finally, Quirk is bringing Tzaangors. These guys are awesome. They have a movement value of 6 inches, weapon skill 3+, blitz skill 4+, strength and toughness 4, 1 wound, 1 attack, leadership 6, and a 6+ armor save. Kinda not the best stat line you've ever seen. They all are going to be market daved right now, so they're going to be walking around with chainswords and chainswords, the Tzaangor blades. That's the one I'm talking about. So Tzaangor blades and auto pistols. Main reason I'm doing that is because the auto pistol is a range 12 pistol with strength 3, AP nothing, 1 damage, but the Tzaangor blades are strength user, so strength 4, AP -1, 1 damage, and each time the bearer fights he can make an additional attack with this weapon. So each one of these guys, I have a unit of 10 and a unit of 30, get to have 2 attacks apiece, which is quite nice right there. They have the Aura of Dark Glory, so all models have a 5+ invulnerable save, super good right there. And they have a Brayhorn. Now each one does have a single Brayhorn in it, and this allows them to have a additional one to their advance and charge rolls for a unit with a Brayhorn. I may have misplaced them right now, but I think I have 2 Brayhorns in 1 unit. Let's just not talk about that. Finally, they have Relic Hunters, so you can reroll failed hit rolls in the fight phase when this unit targets a character. Kind of cool, not too bad. The reason I'm bringing them, they have access to a certain stratagem. And where is this stratagem? Let me find it so I can actually name it properly here. Cycle of Slaughter. 2 command points. 2 command points! Gives an entire unit of Tzaangors the ability to fight again in the fight phase, which is awesome. Might not seem like too much right there, but the fact that it's only 2 command points means that it is more usable and not such a strain to consider using in the fight phase. Because normally anything that has the ability to fight again costs 3 command points, but no, this only costs 2, which I'm super happy about. On top of that, I'm able to go ahead and give them Prescience, which gives them a +1 to hit, so another hitting on 2s. And on top of that, I'm also able to have somebody standing by that gives them the re-rolling to hit. Re-rolling hit rolls of 1. So they're going to have, like, a unit of 40 will have, a unit of 30 will have 60 attacks, hitting on 2s, re-rolling. So I'm probably going to get those 60 hits. And then at Strength 4, they're going to do quite a bit of wounds. The -1 is awesome, so it's going to be able to cut through a little bit of armor right there if you do happen to have any armor. But it's just the volume of dice you're able to throw, and then the fact that you can go ahead and fight again makes them so ridiculous. On top of that, you can go ahead and put Glimmer on them, so they're -1 to hit. And then you can also go ahead and give them one of the other spells that I do have. It's escaping me right now, but it gives you +1 to your invuln save, or gives you an invulnerable save. And since they already have an invuln of 5+, it's going to give them an invulnerable save of 4+. Get out of the way, Harlequins. These guys are the new hotness right here. So, but yeah, giant unit of them. Gonna try and see if I can have them march up the board and just kill something. It'd be really good if they could do that. So, that's why I'm bringing Tzaangors. It's kind of cool. 2 units. Obviously, I need 3 troops in this detachment in order to make it viable. So let's move on to the next troop choice, my Rubric Marines. Rubric Marines! Probably one of my favorite just all-around Space Marine, Chaos Space Marine looking models. And on top of that, there's Psychers, which everybody knows me. I love Psychers. Rubric Marines are awesome. They have a movement value of 5 because they used to be really slow and they're all kind of made of sand, so they're a little rusty and have trouble moving around. Weapon skill, Bliss skill 3+, strength and toughness of 4, 1 wound, 1 attack, leadership 7, and a 3-up armor save. The Inspiring Sorcerer, which the unit does come with, has a 6-inch move and an additional attack, 1 extra leadership, and that's pretty much it right there. Weapons that I have here, I've got 3 units that are all kitted out the same way. They're all walking around with those Inferno Bolt Guns, which are 24-inch range, rapid fire 1, strength 4, AP -2, and 1 damage, which is awesome. And then, I've also got a unit that has the Warp Flamer, which is an 8-inch range, assault D6, strength 4, AP -2, 1 damage. And this weapon automatically hits. So that's kind of awesome right there. Then we've also got the Aspiring Sorcerer, who's going to be walking around with the Force Staff, which is strength +2, AP -1, and D3 damage. And I think he also has the Infernal Bolt Pistol, which is just a pistol version of the Infernal Bolt Gun. 12-inch range, pistol 1, strength 4, -2 AP, 1 damage. Super good right there. They have a ton of abilities, and by a ton I mean 4, and by 4 I mean 3, because one of them's not going to matter, but we have Death to the False Emperor. Again, you're going to see that all over the place. We have All is Dust, one of the most broken rules for these guys, where add 1 to saving throws for Rubric Marines if the attack has a damage characteristic of 1. In addition, the -1 modifier to hit rolls for moving and shooting with a heavy weapon does not apply to Rubric Marines. So these guys, if you're hitting them with 1 damage, have a 2-up armor save. On top of that, they have Favored of Tzeentch, so all models in this unit have a 5-up invulnerable save. Again, if you hit me with 1 damage, that becomes a 4-up invulnerable save. Mwah, because it does say it applies to their saving throws, not armor saving throws. So you gotta be specific, guys. Lastly in here, I went ahead and threw in an Icon of Flame. So at the start of your Psychic phase, roll a d6 for each unit with an Icon of Flame. On a 6, inflict 1 mortal wound to the closest enemy unit within 12 inches of the model carrying the Icon of Flame. Each unit does have one. I will mark it later if need be, but it's just a neat little thing that might come into play. I mean, if you have 6 turns, on average, each unit will do it once, mathematically, right? Yeah. It's not going to happen. Finally, the Aspiring Sorcerer in this unit is a Psyker, so you can attempt to manifest 1 Psychic Power in each friendly Psychic phase, and attempt to deny 1 Psychic Power in each enemy Psychic phase. He knows Smite and 1 power from the Discipline of Change. When an Aspiring Sorcerer manifests Smite, it inflicts 1 mortal wound instead of D3, or D3 if the roll is more than 10. So, kind of nice right there. Again, these units are not going to suffer the -1 modifier, which is super good right there. They also have a 24-inch range Smite, because all their psychic powers have an additional 6 inches to the range, thanks to the Brotherhood of Sorcerers. Kind of nice right there. Again, I do have 4 units of these guys in this entire army. The other detachment that I have is 3 units of these guys. One of them has the Warp Flamers, and then I have a Exalted Sorcerer, which I will talk about when I get to that. But just so you know, they are going to be all over the army and in different detachments. So covering them right now so that everybody gets the idea. Main job that these guys are going to do, walk around, shoot things that have a little bit better armor, stand on objectives, rely on that All is Dust to kind of camp out there for a little while. Probably not going to put any psychic powers on them. I'm going to be trying to make the Tzaangors good, which shouldn't be too difficult considering how many powers I have available and all the little sneaky things I can do. So, moving on now from the troop choices, let's go ahead and take a look at the... I believe these are elites. I want to say they're elites. They are elites. These are the Tzaangor Enlightened. Tzaangor Enlightened. So these guys are actually kind of cool. They're Tzaangors with bows, flying around on discs, shooting people as much as they possibly can, which I'm 100% down for. These Tzaangor Enlightened have a movement value of 12 inches, weapon skill plus skill 3+, strength and toughness of 4, 2 wounds apiece, 2 attacks, leadership 7, and a 6 of armor save. There's also a Aviarch who has essentially the same stat line, just 1 extra attack and 1 extra leadership. This entire unit is 5 strong, and I went ahead and switched out all the weapons they normally have, which is the chainsword and auto pistol, for a Fatecaster Greatbow. Now the Fatecaster Greatbow is a 24-inch range, assault 2, strength 5, -1, 1 damage weapon. It's kind of cool because these guys have an ability called Guided by Fate, where each time I make a hit roll of 6+ with this model, except for the discs, I don't make a wound roll for that attack, it just is automatically successful, and then saving throws may be attempted against the attacks as normal. So this unit of 5 guys is going to be flying around the board with 10 shots in total, hitting on 3s. If I roll any 6s, it just automatically goes through. Strength 5 against a lot of your stuff is probably going to be wounding on 4s or 3s just because of the general toughness we see. And then with that -1, it's going to cut through a little bit of armor. Their job is to stay 24 inches away from their target and shoot it. Also hide out on objectives. And then once everything's been said and done, move on to the next objective, shoot, rinse, repeat. These guys are fairly straightforward. There's not too much I can really talk about them. Obviously, there's a couple different options I'm going to have available to me to make them a little bit better, which we will get into because that is in a completely different detachment, which I'm about to cover right now. Let's go and move on from this battalion, because that's all of it in its entirety, to my Vanguard detachment. We're going to take a look at some elites. First things first, one of these attachments does need an HQ choice, so my HQ choice for them is going to be a Sorcerer in Terminator Armor. The reason I'm bringing him in Terminator Armor is because he gets the ability Teleport Strike, where during deployment I can set this model up in the Teleportarium chamber instead of placing it on the battlefield, and at the end of any movement phase, this model can Teleport Strike and arrive on the battlefield. Set it up anywhere on the battlefield, more than 9 inches away from enemy models. It does have to follow the rule with the new FAQs and everything that on the first turn I can only Deep Strike into my own deployment zone. I'm probably not going to do that, but really cool to have him kind of walking around doing his thing. He is a Sorcerer in Terminator Armor, so he has a movement value of 5 inches, weapon skill plus skill 3+, strength and toughness 4, 5 wounds, 3 attacks, leadership 9, and a 2+ armor save. He's going to have a Infernal Combi Bolter, which is a 24-inch range, rapid fire 2, strength 4, -2 AP, 1 damage apiece. Also has a Force Staff, not the sword, so giving him +2 to his strength, making him strength 6, AP -1, and D3 damage. Went ahead and also added a Familiar to him, which I'm not going to put the extra model to walk around because we don't really need one, but if this model is accompanied by a Familiar, add 1 to the first psychic test you take for him in each of your psychic phases. Really cool right there. And he can attempt to manifest 2 psychic powers in each friendly psychic phase and attempt to deny 1 psychic power in each enemy psychic phase. He knows Smite and 2 powers chosen from the Discipline of Change and the Dark Hereticus Discipline. Reason I'm bringing him is because I can Deep Strike him onto the board turn 2, 9 inches away from whatever I need him to be Deep Striking away from. But then he's going to go ahead and use one of the powers available to him, which is Infernal Gateway. Ooh, I love this spell. So casting value of 8 with that Familiar is going to make it casting value of 7, because I get that +1, which is awesome. And what it does is I take the closest model in range, and it's 18-inch range as opposed to 12 because of the buff. And it does D3 mortal wounds. If I roll, I believe, 11 or higher, so if I roll a 10, it's going to do D6 mortal wounds to that unit. And then, I measure from the model that was closest. Any other unit within 3 inches of him also suffers either D3 or D6 mortal wounds. So if I target a big guy who's surrounded by a bunch of little guys, everybody's getting hurt, which is kind of awesome right there. So that's what he's going to be doing. And then on top of that, obviously, he's got a gun, so he can shoot a little bit. He's got a sword, so he can fight a little bit. But for the most part, he's just going to land somewhere and go Gateway. And then probably die. So that is the HQ choice in the Vanguard detachment. Let's go ahead and move on now to the Hellbrute. The Hellbrute. Now, this one is definitely going to be having quite a bit of market day, but I grabbed it because it's blue. It matches. Everything blue looks good in this army. Hellbrute has a movement value of 8 inches, weapon skill plus skill 3+, strength of 6, toughness of 7, 8 wounds, 4 attacks, leadership 8, and a 3+ armor save. And right now you're kind of seeing him equipped with the Multi-Melta and Hellbrute Fist, but I went ahead and switched those out for a missile launcher and a twin last cannon. So the missile launcher has 2 different firing profiles. They're both 48-inch range. One is a heavy D6, strength 4, AP nothing, 1 damage. The other one is the crack missile, which is a heavy 1, strength 8, AP minus 2, and D6 damage. That'll punch a hole through something, except for things with quantum shielding. So, then on top of that, we also have the twin last cannons, which is a 48-inch range, heavy 2, strength 9, minus 3, D6 damage. Again, probably going to punch through something, which is quite nice right there. Abilities that this model has is Crazed. So at the end of any phase in which this model loses any wounds, roll a d6. On a 6, this model immediately makes a shooting attack as if it were the shooting phase if there's no enemies within 1 inch of it, or piles in and fights as if it was the fight phase if there are enemies within 1 inch. If there are no targets visible to the model and within range, nothing happens. So you hurt him, there's a small chance he might shoot you back. So don't shoot him. Also has Battering Onslaught, which isn't going to come into play, but if I did have 2 melee weapons, I'd add an extra attack to his attack characteristic for having them. And on top of all of that, when he's reduced to 0 wounds on a die roll of 6, he can explode. Everything within 3 inches suffers D3 mortal wounds. Basically, this is going to be my living artillery piece. He's going to kind of walk around a little bit. He doesn't ignore the heavy penalty, which is annoying, but he's going to either walk around or stay put somewhere and just shoot you. Shoot, shoot, shoot. That's all he's built here. That's all I brought him to do, was just shoot stuff. Do damage and shoot. That's it. So, fairly straightforward. We've all seen Hellbrutes before. We're very familiar with what they can do. Armies that are just full of them can be a pain. A single one can be a little bit of a nuisance. In a list like this, I have enough bodies in the way that he's going to have a hard time getting in combat with me, and the Hellbrute's going to be able to keep doing what he's supposed to be doing, which is just shooting everything nearby. So, kind of straightforward right there. Moving on now from the Hellbrute, let's take a look at the Scarab Occult Terminators. Ooh. Scarab Occult Terminators. What do you guys do? Well, you have a movement characteristic of 4 inches. That's not very good. Weapon skill with skill 3+, strength and toughness of 4, 2 wounds, 2 attacks, leadership 8, and a 2+ save. And then on top of that, we have a sorcerer who has an extra inch of movement and 1 higher leadership, so leadership of 9. I'm going to be using his leadership for mostly everything, unless he kills himself, which I really hope I don't do. The Scarab Occult Terminators are going to be equipped with the Infernal Combi Bolters as well as the Power Sword. So the Infernal Combi Bolters are a 24-inch range, rapid fire 2, strength 4, minus 2, 1 damage. So if I'm within 12 inches, that means it's going to be 4 shots per guy, which is awesome. And on top of that, I've also got the Power Sword, which is strength user, so strength 4, minus 3, 1 damage. We also have the Sorcerer, who has a Force Staff, which is +2 to the strength, giving him strength 6, minus 1, D3 damage. Couple of abilities that these guys have, and the reason why I'm bringing them. So first off, we have Death of the False Emperor. Meh. We also have All Is Dust, but wait, they already have a 2+ armor save. I mean, remember, All Is Dust from the Rubric Marines. Again, this applies to their Invulnerable save, and they're in Terminator armor, so they definitely get the 5-up Invulnerable save, so now they have a 4-up Invulnerable save. Again, that's pretty much the same as what Rubric Marines have, but these guys have an extra wound, which is quite nice. I also have one guy who has the Hellfray Missile Rack, 24-inch range, heavy 2, strength 8, minus 2, D3 damage. Just kind of there to punch through guys with a couple wounds. Maybe start off getting rid of a 3-wound model, maybe, possibly, hopefully, fingers crossed. And then we also have, and this is the reason why I brought it, Teleport Strike. So we all remember the Terminator Sorcerer that I was going to bring, who does the Inferno Gateway. That's what it is. He needs bodyguards. So say hello to his bodyguards. Suddenly, my Sorcerer Terminator character guy is a little bit scarier when he's walking around with this entourage. So that's the reason I brought them. On top of that, this also has a Sorcerer with the Sorcerer, I guess. And he can attempt to manifest 1 psychic power in each friendly psychic phase and attempt to deny 1 power in each enemy psychic phase. He knows Smite and 1 power from the Discipline of Change. And when this model manifests Smite, it's the same as Rubric Marines, where unless I roll a more than a 10, so an 11 or higher, it's only going to do 1 mortal wound. If I do roll that 11 or higher, it does D3 mortal wounds. Their job is to go into Teleport Strike with the Sorcerer, and they both all land together so that you can't just pick off my character. So he's going to kind of land and be like, oh, don't worry, guys, I brought bodyguards. And then all your Tyranids are going to be like, oh no, he brought bodyguards. And we'll be like, yeah, deal with it. So, moving on from them, we have one last unit to take a look at for the Vanguard detachment, and that is the Tzaangor Shaman. The Tzaangor Shaman is a single model armed with a Force Staff, and he rides atop a Disc of Tzeentch, which attacks with his blades. Has a movement characteristic of 12 inches, weapon skill, bliss skill of 3+, strength and toughness 4, 4 wounds, 3 attacks, leadership 8, and a 6-up armor save. The Force Staff, as we've seen before, is +2 to the strength, -1 AP, D3 damage, and the blades on top of the disc are strength 4, AP nothing, 1 damage, and after this model makes its attack, you can make 1 additional attack using this weapon's profile. So it's like the disc is just going to be like, yeah, jab you a little bit. Abilities that this guy has: Aura of Dark Glory, giving him a 5 invulnerable save. We also have Bestial Prophet, where you can add 1 to any hit rolls you make for friendly Tzaangor units within 6 inches of the Shaman. Oh, it's like that would really help out with the Guided by Fate that the Enlightened would want to use. So what this guy does is he hangs out with the Enlightened, gives them a +1 to hit, so that if they roll a 5 or higher, then their shots will automatically wound, going through and forcing the armor save. It also means that now these guys are going to be able to fly around, firing 10 shots, hitting on 2s. Super cool right there. I can also have them running around with the Tzaangors if need be, where they can all be hitting on 2s as well, and that way I can see myself having to cast a spell. But I think I'm going to have them run around with the Enlightened. Just seems like a much better choice right there. On top of that, we also have Sorceress Elixir, where I can reroll the first psychic failed psychic test made for this model. I can only use this ability once per battle. So it's just kind of like, oh no, we messed up. Quick, crack the energy drink. The Tzaangor Shaman can attempt to manifest 1 psychic power in each friendly psychic phase, attempt to deny 1 psychic power in each enemy psychic phase, Smite, and 1 power from the Discipline of Change. And I think for him, I don't remember which power I gave him, but it's from the Discipline of Change. Where is that? Where did my disciplines go? Alright, Discipline of Change. I think I went ahead and gave him... Oh, which one is it? Is it... Weaver of Fates? No, Weaver of Fates is the one that improves my invulnerable save. It is... Oh... Boon of Mutation? I don't know. Oh, no, sorry. Zinja's Firestorm. That's what it was. So I roll 9 dice, and every roll of a 6 is a mortal wound, which is kind of cool right there. So he's going to be blasting people away. That's it for all of the models in my Vanguard detachment. Let's go ahead and take a look at the last battalion that I brought. There's really only one model to really show off in this. It is the Sorcerers. I have an Exalted Sorcerer and a regular Sorcerer, and otherwise it's just a bunch of Rubric Marines in that detachment. So it's going to be the 2 HQs and then 3 Rubric Marines. So let's take a look at those Sorcerers right now. The last 2 choices that I have here is a Exalted Sorcerer and a regular Sorcerer. So the Exalted Sorcerer has a movement value of 6 inches, weapon skill, ballistic skill 2+, strength and toughness 4, 5 wounds, 4 attacks, leadership 9, and a 3-up armor save. It is equipped with a Force Staff and an Inferno Bolt pistol, frag grenades, and crack grenades. We know what all of those do. Has Death to the False Emperor, which is not going to come into play. We have Favor of Tzeentch, giving him a 5 invulnerable save, and then Lord of the Thousand Suns, where you can reroll hit rolls of 1 made by friendly Thousand Suns units within 6 inches of this model. Go Rubric Marines. On top of that, he's a Psyker that can manifest 2 psychic powers. He knows 2 powers from the Discipline of Change and the Dark Hereticus, as well as Smite. And he can attempt to deny 1 power in the enemy psychic phase. So, as we can see, there's a lot of Psykers in this list. It makes sense. They're like the evil Grey Knights. I like it. And if anybody at home is a Thousand Suns player going, they're not evil, Magnus did nothing wrong, let us know in the comments below. We also have a regular Sorcerer who has a movement value of 6 as well. Weapon skill, ballistic skill of 3+ instead of 2+. Strength and toughness 4. Only 4 wounds, only 3 attacks, leadership 9, and a 3-up armor save. Essentially equipped the exact same way as the Exalted Sorcerer. So we have the Force Staff and the Infernal Bolt pistol, frag and crack grenades, Death of the False Emperor, and Favor of Tzeentch, giving the 5 invulnerable save. Can attempt to manifest 2 powers, knows and deny 1 power, knows 2 powers. Same as everything else. The only thing that this guy does not have is the Lord of the Thousand Suns, giving that bubble of a reroll. Reason I brought this guy was 100% didn't have the points to bring an Exalted. So, but I still wanted more Psykers. That is my Thousand Suns list in its entirety. As you can see, there's a couple little things that kind of buff off of each other, but for the most part, it's a lot of Psychic. So, things that can very easily shut down this list are things like the Cluxus Assassin, just jumping on the board and saying, how about no to Psychic powers? That would definitely shut down a good chunk of this list, because when you look at the stats, they're okay. It's when you buff them up with the Psychic powers that are available that they become a little bit ridiculous. For example, the Tzaangor is getting the reroll, the +1 to hit, the getting to fight again thanks to the stratagem. Those aren't things that really rely on the powers, and that's the only thing that doesn't rely on powers. Everything else really does. When you're looking at the Glimmer, giving them the -1 to hit, when you're looking at the +1 to their invulnerable save, they rely on those to stay alive. Everything like that pretty much applies to this entire army, where it's okay, but once you get the Psychic powers going, that's when this army really starts to get the ball rolling and doing quite a bit of damage. So that is the Thousand Suns in their entirety. Let me know in the comments below what you think of the Thousand Suns. What would you change in the list? What would you bring instead? Would you bring Magnus? I know you'd bring Magnus. I wanted to bring Magnus. I took out Magnus and brought an entire detachment. So keep that in mind. But that's it for my army. Let's go ahead and take a look at Logan's Tyranids. Tyranids! Super awesome, wonderful paint job. I'm duly impressed by this, sir. What did you bring in your army?
So here's a 2,000 point Tyranid list with High Fleet Kraken. So in this list I have both a Vanguard and a Battalion detachment. For those of you who are wondering, High Fleet Kraken, their High Fleet adaptation is called Questing Tendrils. So this allows, so when a unit with this adaptation advances, roll 3 dice instead of 1 and pick the highest to add to the move characteristic of models in the unit for that movement phase. And also, in addition, units in this, such units can fall back and charge on the same turn. So it allows me to sort of go in, get the charge, fall back out and then charge again. So it gives a lot of, potential of moving key characters around. General rules for Tyranids, there's the Synapse rule. So High Fleet units that will automatically pass morale tests if they are within 12 inches of any High Fleet unit with this ability. So that is most of the characters and certain other key sort of units like across the army. However, on the downside, they also have instinctive behaviour. So unless a High Fleet unit with this ability is within 24 inches of any High Fleet Synapse unit, I must subtract 1 from any hit rolls made for it when shooting at any target other than the nearest visible enemy unit. And I must subtract 2 from charge rolls if it declares a charge against not the closest unit. So then the last rule is Shadow in the Warp. This is very helpful against 1,000 Suns with lots of different Psykers. So enemy Psykers must subtract 1 from any Psychic test they make if they are within 18 inches of any unit with this ability. Tyranid Psykers are not affected. So that is basically on all of my Psykers and again a few key individual units across my army. So that's it for main rules. So if we go across to the Vanguard detachment first. So to lead the Vanguard detachment we have the Swarm Lord, who has a base movement of 9 inches, how this does deteriorate by 2 every bracket, a weapon skill of 2+, a ballistic skill of 3+, a strength of starting at 8, but again deteriorating by levels, a toughness of 7, 12 wounds, and again starting at 6 attacks but moving down, deteriorating, a leadership 10, and save of 3+. So the Swarm Lord is a single model and with burn sabers and a prehensile pincer tail. Again, only one of these models may be included in your army. So the burn sabers are a melee weapon, strength user, so strength 8 to begin with, -3, straight 3 damage.
Oof.
Every time I make a wound roll of 6+ for this weapon, it also inflicts a mortal wound in addition. So a lot of damage potential. And the prehensile pincer tail is another melee weapon that is strength user, AP nothing, D3 damage. Doesn't sound very good, but each time the bearer fights it can make 1 and only 1 attack with this weapon. This is in addition to the bearer's attacks.
Oh, okay, so he's got to get the extra attack just out of nowhere. It's kind of like the Disc of Zinj.
Yes, it's a little added bonus. So again, he has some certain rules such as Shadow in the Warp and Synapse, like we explained earlier. He also has the Psychic Barrier rule, which means that he has a 4+ invulnerable save. The cool thing is though, he also has another rule called Blade Parry. This allows the Swarm to add 1 to the Swarm's invulnerable saves against wounds caused by melee weapons.
Wow.
So in combat, I have 3+ invulnerable save.
Okay, so I'm not going to throw my Demon Prince at you.
Another rule is Hive Commander. So in each of my shooting phases, I can pick 1 friendly High Fleet unit within 6 inches of the Swarm Lord. That unit can move and advance if I wish, as if it were the movement phase instead of shooting. So very nice for sort of Gene Stealers running, then running again, and then charging. He has another rule, which is the Will of the Hive Mind. So the range of the Swarm Lord's Synapse ability is 18 rather than 12. So a little bit more sort of negating running away. And like some other big monsters in the Tyranid army, he has Death Throws. So if this model is reduced to 0 wounds, roll a dice before removing the model from the battlefield. On a 6, it lashes out, and each unit within 3 inches has D3 mortal wounds.
Ooh.
So it's very similar to sort of like vehicles exploding.
Mm-hmm. So he's just going to thrash around and swing at anybody as he's slowly dying.
So he knows Smite and 2 psychic powers from the Hive Mind discipline. He can also attempt to cast 2 psychic powers and deny 2 psychic powers. The psychic powers that he knows are Catalyst and Onslaught.
Very cool. So this is going to be one of your big models I'm going to have to deal with because he does have Synapse, he does have Shadow in the Warp, two things that are going to be a pain for me. Mostly Shadow in the Warp because it's going to negate a lot of my Psychic Power casting, and that +1 from the Familiar that I paid the extra points for. Well, I'm so glad I paid it because that means I can actually still cast the power on a regular roll. But alrighty, so that's it for your Warlord, or sorry, not Warlord, it's it for your HQ in this attachment. Let's go ahead and take a look at the actual Elite choices.
So for our first elite choice in the Vanguard attachment, we've got a unit of 3 Zoanthropes. So these guys have the stats of movement 5 inches, so a little bit slow, weapon skill 4+, ballistic skill 3+, strength 4, toughness 4, 3 wounds, 1 attack, leadership 9, and 5+ save. So pretty average stats. They have claws and teeth, which is a melee weapon, just strength user, AP nothing, 1 damage, sort of like basically nothing. They also have the Shadow in the Warp and the Synapse rule, which again is one of my main buff units in my army. And they also have one of their most amazing rules in the army, Warp Field. So models in this unit have a 3+ invulnerable save. So that does help a lot. So similar to most of Quirk's smites as well, when this unit manifests a smite psychic power, it affects the closest visible enemy within 24 inches instead of 18 inches. This rule also does help if I have more than 3 models in the unit, but I've only brought 3, so I'll be getting no added benefits. So again, as a unit of 3, a unit of Zoanthropes can attempt to manifest 1 psychic power in each friendly psychic phase and attempt to deny 1 power. They also only know 1, being only a unit of 3, and their power is Catalyst again. So then if we move on to some of the units in the Vanguard attachment, such as the Hive Guard. So the second elite choice in the Vanguard attachment is the Hive Guard. They have a movement of 5 inches, a weapon skill of 4+, ballistic skill of 3+, strength 4, toughness 5, 3 wounds apiece again, 2 attacks, leadership 7, and a 4+ armor save. So all 3 of them, each of them have a shock cannon, and the shock cannon is a range 24 weapon, assault D3, strength 7, -1, and D3 damage.
Ooh.
However, these guys have got good weapons, however they specifically want to go against vehicles, because if the target is a vehicle, and I make a wound roll of 4+, the target suffers 1 mortal wound in addition to the damage taken. If I roll a wound roll of 6+, it takes D3 mortal wounds in addition to the normal damage as well. So very good against sort of vehicles and the normal EMP sort of weapons.
Works very similar to Haywire in a sense. So
basically the same as most Haywire stuff is. These guys do have instinctive behaviour, so like I said before, they can go a bit sort of crazy if they're not near a Synapse creature, but that's more unlikely. So then if we move on to the Tyrant Guard, the last elite choice. So for the last elite choice in the Vanguard attachment, we have the Tyrant's Guard. So these guys have a movement of 7 inches, a weapon skill of 3+, a ballistic skill of 4+, so the opposite to the Hive Guard, strength of 5, a toughness of 5, 3 wounds again, 3 attacks, leadership 6, and 3+ save. So each of the Tyrant Guard is equipped with Rending Claws, and I've equipped them with Crushing Claws as well. So we'll go for the Rending Claws first. So the Rending Claws are Strength User, -1, 1 damage. However, if I make a wound roll of 6+ this weapon, it's resolved with an AP of -4 instead of -1. And their second weapon is the Crushing Claws. So these are Strength ×2, so it'll be Strength 10, so very strong. AP -3 and D3 damage. And when I attack with this weapon though, I do have to subtract 1 from hit rolls. So very similar to a Power Fist. These guys again do have instinctive behaviour. And they have a special rule here called Blind Rampage. So for friendly Hive Tyrants, so that'll be the Hive Tyrant we haven't seen, and the Swarm Lord. If it is killed within 6 inches of this unit, from the end of that turn, increase the attack characteristic of each model in this unit by 1 for the rest of the battle.
Wow.
However, to help that not happen, because I don't want my big guys to die, they also have a rule called Shield Wall. So roll a dice each time friendly Hive Tyrant loses a wound, more likely going to be the Swarm Lord. While they're within 3 inches of this unit, on a 2+, a model from this unit can intercept the hit. The Hive Tyrant does not lose a wound, but this unit suffers a mortal wound.
That's actually surprisingly good, because
Yeah.
that means if you get hit with anything it's like super high damage, it still gets reduced down to a single mortal wound.
This is basically 9 extra wounds onto what, for example, a Swarm Lord could be.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah.
Why don't I have these? I need these. Matt, we need these. Matt, watch this video. We need more of these. We need a lot more of these.
So yeah, that's it for the Vanguard attachment, and we'll move on to the battalion. So in the battalion, the first HQ choice is going to be the Broodlord. He has a movement characteristic of 8 inches, which is very fast, a weapon skill 2+, a ballistic skill of nothing, a strength of 5, a toughness of 5, a weapon skill of, wounds of 6, 6 attacks, leadership 10, and 4+ save. Broodlords are armed with monstrous rending claws, and they are strength user, -3 d3 damage. However, there's an added bonus I can reroll failed wounds for this weapon, and in addition, each time I roll a wound roll of 6+, that hit is resolved with an AP of -6 and a straight 3 damage. So again, being one of the main characters, he has Synapse and Shadow in the Warp, and much like Gene Stealers, he has lightning and reflexes. This means that he has a 5+ invulnerable save. He also, like Gene Stealers, has Swift and Deadly, so this allows him to charge even if it advances during his turn. And to help the Gene Stealers along with fighting things, he has a rule called Brood Telepathy. So I can add 1 to hit rolls in the fight phase for high fleet Gene Stealer units within 6 inches of any high fleet Broodlords. So that'll allow the Gene Stealers to hit on 2+. And this guy's normally sort of my upfront sort of head of the Vanguard to sort of deal with, well, try and sneak past characters and rip them to pieces. So again, he is a Psyker, and he knows 1 psychic power, and he can deny 1 and cast 1 per turn. The psychic power that he knows is Paroxysm. So again, sort of like a full frontal, no holding back with him, just sort of charge whatever he can.
Very, very cool. And an awesome looking model to boot.
Yeah, well, and for the second HQ choice, we'll move on to the Hive Tyrant. So for our second and final HQ choice for the battalion, we have a Hive Tyrant with wings. So its movement, since it has wings, it starts with its upper bracket, has 16-inch movement base, which then degrades by 4 every level. Its weapon skill starts as a 2+, and again degrades by 1 every level. His ballistic skill starts as a 3+, and then again goes down, only maximum of 1 though. Has a strength of 6, a toughness of 7, 12 wounds, 4 attacks, a leadership of 10, and a 3+ save. So this Hive Tyrant is equipped with a Stranglethorn cannon and a pair of monstrous rending claws. So these weapons have both a close combat weapon and a ranged weapon. The Stranglethorn cannon has 36-inch range. It is assault d6, strength 7, -1, 2 damage. And I can add 1 to hit rolls for this weapon when attacking a unit that has 10 or more models. So in other words, Tzaangors.
No, not my Tzaangors.
However, the -1, 2 damage will be very nice for taking out rubrics and such.
Yes, because it's going to ignore my all this dust ability and also trigger on a -1 to give my 3 up a 4 up. Ugh.
Very nice. So for his close combat weapons, which you can't see on the model, but the model doesn't allow to have 2 sets of weapons, even though you have to. So for his set of weapons, it has the monstrous rending claws. So these are the same as the Broodlord. So strength user, -3, d3 damage. However, again, you can reroll failed wounds to this weapon, and in addition, each time I make a wound roll of 6+, to resolve an AP of -6 and a straight 3 damage. So that's for its actual weapons. For its rules, again, it has Shadow in the Warp and Synapse to have some nice bubbles around it. And it also has the Will of the Hive Mind, again like the Swarm Lord, which means that its Synapse is 18 inches instead of 12. So again, just sort of a nice long bubble. It does have the rule Swooping Assault, which means that during deployment I can set up a Hive Tyrant with wings, circling above the sky instead of placing it on the battlefield. At the end of any of my movement phases, it can swoop down, and I can set it up anywhere on the battlefield that is more than 9 inches from any enemy models, which is okay, but I think he moves fast enough. And Death Throws, again, like the Swarm Lord, so when he's reduced to 0 wounds, I roll a dice before removing it, and on 6 it lashes out, and every unit within 3 inches, so it's d3 mortal wounds. And again, like all Hive Tyrants and Swarm Lords, it has Psychic Barrier, which means that a Hive Tyrant has a 4+ invulnerable save. So for this model, I could put it into Swooping Assault, but normally I feel like it has enough movement with 16 inches to basically be able to get to where it most wants anyway. I think that Deep Strike sort of limits it to where it can go. So normally, it'll be my sort of full frontal, hopefully maybe try and get behind enemy lines and maybe pick off a character quite quickly.
Yeah, he's going to be very good at that with that movement value, and then on top of all of that, a lot of my characters are going to be hiding in the back lines to try and, lead from the rear, which I now need to reconsider because this guy's going to just fly over everything and wreck my day.
And especially considering that I can use a rule, so if I can move him 16 inches, Swarm Lord starts off with 9, and I can use his rule, which allows at the higher time to move again in the shooting phase. So that could be a potential of 32 inches, and again I could get a Psychic Power off, which allows him to advance and charge, which again would be 3d6, because of High Fleet Kraken. I could potentially get him very far across the board.
Definitely. That is terrifying. Alright, so that's it for your 2 HQ choices. Let's start with some of the troop choices, and I think we have some Gene Stealers.
We do have some Gene Stealers, yes. So for the first troop in the battalion detachment, we have a unit of 10 Gene Stealers. So Gene Stealers again are very fast with a movement of 8 inches. They have a weapon skill of 3+, a ballistic skill of 4+, which they'll never use, a strength of 4, toughness 4, 1 wound, 3 attacks, leadership of 9, and a 5+ armor serve. So each Gene Stealer is equipped with Rending Claws and Scything Talons. So Rending Claws, which are the weapon that you'd normally use, Strength User, -1, 1 damage. However, each time I roll a wound roll of 6+, to resolve with an AP of -4 instead of -1. The other weapon, which in my opinion would be much better against Tzaangors and such, is Scything Talons. The Strength User, AP nothing, 1 damage. However, I can reroll hit rolls of 1 for this weapon. So something as an invulnerable save, no point of using the Rending Claws, might as well get reroll the 1s. So Flurry of Claws is one of the rules that this unit has. So Gene Stealers have 4 attacks instead of 3, while their unit has 10 or more models. So at full strength, they'll have 4 attacks each. They also have a rule called Lightning Reflexes, like the Broodlord, where they have a 5+ invulnerable save. So just like their armor save, but it doesn't degrade, well it doesn't change due to rend. Swift and Deadly again, so they can charge even if they advance during this turn. And there are several other rules, but none of them will come into play because they're just not worth it for what they do.
Fair enough.
And that is it for Gene Stealers.
Very, very cool. Now, is there some sort of a combo that you can do with these guys and the Broodlord that makes them a little bit ridiculous?
Sort of ridiculous. Obviously, the Broodlord gives them all +1 to hit within 6 inches, so hitting on 2s with, at full strength, 40 attacks is quite nasty.
Jeez.
However, for that, again, I can advance and charge, so with the Swarm Lord's ability, I can move up 8 inches, advance 3d6, hoping for like a 5, and then move up and advance again, and then still charge afterwards.
Wow.
So again, a lot of potential for fast moving, sort of like high priority sort of enemies basically. So yeah, the whole army, this army sort of move very quickly, go on all sorts of different fronts, so they sort of have to split the force.
Very, very nice.
And that's it for the Gene Stealer, so we can move on to the Hormagaunts. So for the second troop choice in the battalion detachment, we have the 10 Hormagaunts. So these guys aren't great, they're mainly sort of like a meat shield sort of thing. So their stats are movement of 8, so they're very quick. Weapon skill 4+, ballistic skill 4+, strength 3, toughness 3, 1 wound, 2 attacks, leadership 5, and 6 up save. So these guys, the Scything Talons, much like the Gene Stealers, are strength user, AP nothing, 1 damage, however can reroll hit rolls of 1. So some sort of okay combat potential, which is the only thing they can do. Again, they have instinctive behaviour, so if they're not in synapse, they don't really like it. And they have one rule called Bounding Leap. So whenever this unit piles in and consolidates, it can move up to 6 inches instead of 3.
Wow.
Again, it does gain buffs when they have 20 or more, but I've only brought 10 because it's just cheap. So then for the last troop choice, if we move on to the Warriors. So for the final troop choice in the battalion detachment, we have 3 Tyranid Warriors. So the stats on these guys are movement of 6 inches, weapon skill 3+, ballistic skill 4+, strength 4, toughness 4, 3 wounds, 3 attacks, leadership 9, and a 4+ armor save. So they are equipped slightly differently, some of them. So all 3 of them have lash whips and burn swords, and 2 of them are armed with death spitters. One is armed with a normal venom cannon. So the lash whips and lash whips and burn swords are strength user, AP -2, 1 damage. However, if the model dies before it gets to swing, before it gets to fight, you keep the model there, and it gets to fight when you activate the unit normally, and then you remove the model afterwards.
Wow.
So it's sort of like it's always there, and you can always have a chance to fight no matter if you die in combat.
Alright, so kill it with fire.
Yeah. So 2 of them have death spitters. Now these weapons are, I believe, range 18, strength 5, assault 3, -1, 1 damage. So they also, one of them has a venom cannon, which is range 36, D3 shots, Like I was saying, the Venom Cannon has 36-inch range, Assault D3, Strength 8, -2 and D3 damage. So pretty solid heavy weapon. And that is it for them. They have no real special rules apart from the fact that they do give out Synapse and Shadow in the Warp.
Oh wow.
So they are again another sort of upfront troop choice that does buff the army.
Very, very cool. So now we have some heavy support?
Yep, we have 2 heavy supports. We'll start off with the Exocrine. So I have 1 Exocrine for my first heavy support choice in the battalion attachment. So it has a movement of 6, not really meant to move. A weapon skill of 4+, again degrading. A ballistic skill of 4+, again degrading. Strength 7, toughness 8. 12 wounds, 3 attacks, sort of like a tank, it's not very good, and it degrades. Leadership of 6 and a 3+ armor save. So the weapon it's got, it has a bioplasmic cannon and powerful limbs. So the bioplasmic cannon, the reason why I picked this model, is range 36, heavy 6, strength 7, -3, 2 damage.
Ew.
And the powerful limbs are melee weapons, strength user, AP -1, 2 damage. And it has instinctive behaviour, so if it's not near Synapse and it wants to target anything that's not the closest, it does get -1 to hit. However, it has some very good rules. So the first rule is symbiotic targeting. So if this model does not move in my movement phase, it gets +1 to hit in the following shooting phase. But it cannot charge if it does this. I'm okay with that though.
Yep.
And yeah. And it is also a weapon beast. So if this model does not move in my movement phase, it can fire its weapons twice. So that'd be 12 shots, hitting on 3s with a strength 7, -3 weapon, 2 damage.
Can you target 2 different units with that?
It's a bit sort of, I'm not sure.
Okay.
And again, like most of the big monsters, it has death throws. So when introduced to 0 wounds, roll dice before moving the model on a 6, everything is 3 inches, so it's D3 mortal wounds.
Alrighty.
Okay, and then we'll move on to our second and last heavy support choice, which is the Tyranids. So the second heavy support choice in our battalion attachment is a Tyranids. So again, this guy's a very big monster. He has only a movement of 6 inches, again, doesn't really care about that. A weapon skill of 4+, a ballistic skill of 4+, again degrading. Strength 7, again degrading. Toughness 8, again, very big monster. 14 wounds this time. 4 attacks, degrading as it goes down. Leadership 7 and a 3+ armor save. So the Tyranids I have here is equipped with a rupture cannon, and it also has a stinger salvo. And again, like the Exocrine, it has powerful limbs in combat. So for shooting weapons, the stinger salvo I'll start off with is range 24, assault 4, strength 5, -1, 1 damage. So it's a little support weapon. But its big weapon, the rupture cannon, range 48, heavy 3, strength 10, -3, D6 damage.
Oh.
So very big weapon. And again in combat, if it ever gets to it, which it hopefully doesn't, it has powerful limbs, which are a melee weapon, strength user, -1, 2 damage. So again, it does have instinctive behaviour, so I'm going to try and keep something with Synapse near it. And it is a bio tank. So this model does not suffer the penalty to its hit rolls for moving and firing heavy weapons. So it's sort of a mobile platform of weapons. However, more than likely don't want it to move because it's a weapon beast. So if this model does not move in your movement phase, you can fire all its weapons twice again.
Oh jeez.
And again, like the Exocrine, it's got similar rules, it has death throws as well.
Okay.
So again, same as always. Roll dice on 6, everything in 3, so it's D3 mortal wounds. And then we can move on to our last choice, which is our flyer choice, which is the Harpy. Okay, so for the last model in the detachment, which is a flyer choice, we have the Harpy. So it starts off with a movement of 30 inches, and does not have a minimum movement, and has a weapon skill 4+, and a ballistic skill 4+, both degrading as they go down. Strength 6, toughness 6, 12 wounds, 3 attacks, a leadership of 9, and only a 4-up save though. So the one I have is equipped with 2 heavy venom cannons and scything wings, and it also has stinger salvos. So the heavy venom cannon, for those of you who do not know, is range 36, assault D3, strength 9, -2, straight through damage.
Whoa.
And he has 2 of those.
Oh.
So it's going to be 2d3 shots of strength 9, -2, 3 damage. It also has a stinger salvo, again like the Tyranids, which is range 24, assault 4, strength 5, -1, 1 damage. So its scything wings, which you can use in combat, are strength user, -2, D3 damage, and with all scything weapons, I can reroll hit rolls with 1 with it in combat phase. So some rules that it has instinctive behaviour, again to keeping their synapse. It has death throws, like all the models, it's exactly the same. Roll a dice on 6, everything 3, so it's D3 mortal wounds. It has a cool rule called Sonic Screech. So when a harpy successfully charges, until the end of the turn, enemy units within 1 inch cannot be chosen to fight until all other eligible units have chosen to do so. So sort of makes a loud scream and no one can dare to fight it.
Okay.
He also has a rule called Spore Mine Cysts. So basically a harpy can drop spore mines as it flies over enemy units in the movement phase. To do so, after the harpy has moved, pick 1 enemy unit that it flew over and roll a d6 for each model in that unit, up to a maximum of 3 dice. Each time I roll a roll 4+, the spore mine has hit the target and explodes. It does what a normal spore mine does. So for those of you who don't know, you roll a d6 to find out how much damage it has done. On a 1, the spore mine basically does nothing. On a 2 to 5, it inflicts 1 mortal wound, and on a 6, it inflicts D3 mortal wounds. So for every 4+ I don't roll her, I place a single spore mine anywhere within 6 inches of the target unit and more than 3 inches away from any enemy model. And this follows the rule for normal spore mines. This is basically the same thing if it gets within 3 inches of the unit. And that is all of my army.
Very, very cool. So a couple things to keep in mind. First off, it is a flyer and it does have the flyer tag. So if at any point in time it's the only model remaining, you are still technically tabled. Also with this game, we are going to be playing the the Nova Open Premier Package. So what that means is we're going to be trying to play for points. We're not going to be trying to table each other. We are going to play as if this is a regular tournament. So we're going to try and achieve those points because in the regular tournament setting, you want to get as many points as possible.
Definitely.
So that is the game plan on this one. So at certain points, I may actually say out loud that I'm going to do this because I don't want to try and table you. I want points.
Yeah.
So if at any point in time either of us are table, I'm going to treat it as that's pretty much where the game immediately ends and we go straight to points. We aren't going to play it as the available points that you could possibly score at that time. So just to make life a little bit easier. The mission that we are going to be playing is the Relic. So this one has a couple different ways it can be played. As in you're going to hear my voice kind of move around the room. Hopefully you don't have surround sound because that's going to throw you right off. And if you're wearing earbuds right now, I don't apologize. I'm everywhere like a ghost. So the way the Relic works, we have 2 primary options that we can pick, but the setup is either going to be Spearhead Assault or Hammer and Anvil. I think just to make life simpler, I think we're going to just agree on Hammer and Anvil.
Yeah.
Not have to do that, just those wonky lines. But we place 5 objectives on the table. 1 objective will go in the center of the table. That will be our Relic. And then we then we place the other 4 in each table quarter. The one mission objective that you can score that is the end game mission is the Relic itself is worth 5 points. The home objectives that are in your deployment zone are worth 1 point each, and your opponent's ones are worth 2 points apiece. The maximum objectives that you can score on your primary missions are 9. So keep that in mind. The progressive one, where this is you score points between turn 2 and 6. Is the home objectives are worth 1 point. Control your home objectives worth 1 point. Control 1 or more of the home objectives in your opponent's control area is 1 point. And if you control the Relic or center objective, it is 1 point. So if you hold both of yours, one of your opponents, and the Relic, you can score 3 points in a turn. Again, maxing out at 9. So that's kind of how that's going to work there. And then on top of all that, we do have our secondaries, which we will talk about in the vault, as well as going over all the psychic powers, warlord traits, and things like that to kind of finalize everything and get into it. You'll be able to see the table because we are, again, following the Nova Open 2017 rule packet where we have to deploy and have terrain set up in a particular manner. So it'll be quite interesting to see that as a whole. If you're not already a Vault member, guys, I would recommend go ahead and clicking that link in the description below, getting yourself a free 7-day trial to see our actual battle report, seeing what ends up happening. I have a few little theories about what I'm going to be able to do. I think for the most part I'm going to be able to bog you down with bodies because I do kind of outnumber you.
Yeah.
But you're just straight up firepower is going to absolutely obliterate me. So I'm going to have to try and get on those objectives early and either go for progressive because I'm not sure if I can outlast you all in all.
Yeah, all big monsters.
It's going to be giant monsters. Giant monsters just squishing my tiny blue monsters. So... guys, go ahead and click the link below. Check out the Vault video where we do go ahead and jump into this battle where we play the Relic 2,000 points of Tzaangor Bomb versus your Green Machine Tyranids, which they're so cool, I like them. And you can go ahead and check it out, as well as all the extra stuff that we have in the Vault, like main tutorials, behind the scenes, extra battle reports, open vaults, which are awesome because we do some crazy stuff like VR room things, which is kind of cool. And all the other extra things that we have in the vault. So, guys, we will see you in there. Thanks so much for watching. Leave a comment below. Who do you think will win? and we will find out for you. Anyway, happy wargaming.